Good morning, boys and girls. Let's review what we have learned this week in chapter 8 for customary measurements. The first, we're going to start off with some subtraction problems. See if you can get the answer before the computer reveals the answer. Okay, did you get the answer before the computer revealed it? All right, here's some review. Tens and ones. We know about the tens place and the ones place. We have the number 23. The 2 is in the tens place, and the 3 is in the ones place. I have 2 tens and 3 ones. Let's remember that a row of 10 blocks represents 1 10, and a single block represents 1 1. Moving on, we have 20 plus 3, so 20, 2 tens plus 3 ones equals, 23. So now we have a paintbrush. In this lesson, we were using different items like pennies or paper clips or blocks to measure these items. Let's see how many paper clips it takes to measure this paintbrush. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 paper clips to make it as long as this paintbrush. In the exercises that we did this week on pages 122, 123, and 124 were similar exercises. You needed to find maybe the longest item or circle the shortest item. So let's take a look at some of our questions that we had, and then I will go ahead and reveal the answers. So here we go. Number 1 on page 122, make sure you have your pages in front of you. For number 1, it was asking you which picture is measuring the correct way. Earlier in the week, I had asked my first question, I believe it was Monday, where do you start on the ruler? Do you start with number 1, number 2, or do you start at the 0? Many of you answered 0, and that is correct. You need to make sure you start at 0, and then you can measure how long an item is. So for number 1, the first picture, 3 inches, was correct. The second picture would not be correct because they're starting at the 1. The line is only 3 inches long, but the ending point is at 4, so that's an inaccurate measurement. The third picture for number 1 is also incorrect because they're starting at 2. The ending point is at 5. It's not 5 inches long, it's only 3 inches. For number 2, Patty cut 2 boards for Matt, but both boards were the wrong length. Because Patty measured incorrectly, what problem did he create? You had a couple of different options. They couldn't finish the houseboat. They ran out of boards. The work slowed down, or Sanya was mad at them. The correct answer is the work slowed down. They can finish, but it's going to slow the work down quite a bit. That's why we got to make sure you measure twice, cut once. Number 3, why is it important that Sanya and his family have a safe houseboat to live in? Everybody has a houseboat. They want to have a garden. They want to get a pet. Or the other option was Sanya and his family are made in the image of God. And if you chose Sanya and his family are made in the image of God, you got the correct answer. Make sure you give yourself a pat on the back. Let's go ahead and turn to page 123. For number 1, the directions say, put an X on the tallest one and circle the shortest one. So if you put an X on the middle paintbrush, that's correct. And if you circled the third paintbrush right there, the orange one, that's correct too. Good job. That means you followed directions. Number 2, put an X on the longest straw, looks like a straw, and circle the shortest one. If you put an X on the purple one, that's correct. And if you circled the orange one, that is correct as well. Good job. Now it's asking us to count the units and write the length. So the pencil for number 3, how many did you count? If you counted 10, good job. If not, go ahead and recount it and then fix your answer, okay? Number 4, blue squares. That paintbrush, how many squares did you get? If you got 6, that is the correct answer. Go ahead and pat yourself on the back. All right, and then for number 5 on page 123, they're looking at a paintbrush. They want us to write the length to the nearest unit, all right? So I got 6 pennies. So if you wrote 6, that is correct. Good job. If you wrote 4 paper clips, that is correct. And if you wrote about 8 blocks, that is correct as well. Remember, we're writing to the nearest unit. There's no need to be exact here, so it's just the nearest unit. So for number 5, again, that's 6 pennies, 4 paper clips, and 8 blocks. Turning over to page 124, number 1, it wants you to put an X on the tallest one and circle the shortest one. So you should have put, for number 1, put an X on the blue stack of blocks and circled the green stack. For number 2, it says to put an X on the longest one and circle the shortest one. If you put an X on the blue braid, I'm not sure what that is, like a piece of rope. If you put an X on the blue one, that's correct. And if you circled the yellow one, that is correct as well. Remember, the directions are giving us 2 steps. We need to make sure we follow directions completely. For number 3, it says mark the length. So it gave you 3 options, 5 blocks, 6 blocks, or 7 blocks. So we want to go to the nearest unit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you marked 6, that is correct. Good job. Number 4, here it wants you to write the length to the nearest unit. So we have what appears to be a blue, maybe twisted rope or something like that. So for number 4, pennies. There is about 8 pennies. There are about 5 paper clips. And there are about 13 buttons. Remember, we're writing it to the nearest unit. So again, for number 4 on page 124, 8 pennies, 5 paper clips, and 13 buttons. Down on the bottom of page 124, we are reviewing, you probably remember even and odd numbers. For number 5, the number is 83. Remember, even and odd, even if it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and so on. We remember how to skip count by 2s, right? If you wrote even, or I'm sorry, number 5 for odd, for number 5, the number is 83, it is odd, okay? Number 6, 68 is even. Number 7, the number is 56, that is also even. So boys and girls, check your answers, see where you went wrong. If you have any questions, please send me a chat message. You can also post a question to the class wall, and I will try to get to you as soon as I can. All right, I hope you're having a fabulous afternoon. We'll talk to you soon.